I'm not going to talk about the tzom because you're going to be doing that in your next class, but just in general, why do we fast? The purpose of fasting is to arouse hunger. Isn't that an amazing idea? Arouse hunger. Now, we're very good when we feel physical hunger. We're very good at seeking out what we need and then eating it, really. Whenever you feel hungry, you're just like, okay, I'm going to eat something, and you buy something or you find something, you eat it, because the physical hunger you have is saying, hey, I'm lacking something here, I'm lacking food, I'm going to get food, I'm going to eat it. But what it's really trying to do is help us tap into our spiritual hunger. Because on days where you can't fill your physical hunger, it's saying to you, don't forget you have a spiritual hunger. And for most people, they can't feel their spiritual hunger because they're so caught up with their physical hunger and their ego hunger. We've got so much physical and ego needs. We're so needy and lacking, physically and ego-wise. And when we got physical lackings and ego lackings, we just go and seek out power and pleasure or honor, and we look for them to feed them. And that is such a loud hunger that it actually drowns out the hunger of your soul. And your soul is just hungry for light and love and joy and spirituality and God and mitzvahs and Torah and chesed and helping people. That's all it wants, but it's such a small voice. The voice of your soul is just so, and you can't even hear it because you've got this big noise of your physical ego cravings. So we say one day we're just going to take away the food so you can't feel that, but therefore you could spend all of today just being, I'm so hungry, I want to eat. You could do that, but that would be a waste. What you could rather do is say, this physical hunger, I'm now going to experience it as a spiritual hunger. You're going to experience the spirit. Every time you feel hungry, then you're like, I want some food. Say, no, I don't want food. I want mitzvahs. I want healthy relationships. I want connection to God. And then that's how you do Teshuvah. The fast is hopefully bringing you to Teshuvah, a renewed relationship with God, tapping into that spiritual hunger that is always there. But I'm not going to talk about the fast today, because we're doing it next class. I'm going to talk about the 13 Midot HaRachamim, which we started speaking about last week. I'm speaking about it because we're saying it many, 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 many times. Anyone who did Selichot this morning, you probably said it about 10 times this morning. Hashem, Hashem, Ke'orachum v'chanun, erech apayim rav chesed, v'emet notzeh chesed, l'fim, noiseh avam, feshev v'chatav, v'nakeh. And we know that these are 13 powerful channels into divine mercy. Moses went up to the mountain after the sin of the golden calf, and Hashem says to him, I have these midot, I have these character traits, these measures, and you have to trigger them. This was a whole class last week, that we have immense power to awaken God. Hashem says, I have all this blessing that I want to give you, but you have to turn on the tap. You've got to turn on the tap, but it's waiting to gush out. And the tap is usually something like emunah. Emunah, trust in God's kindness, is what brings the kindness. But he's saying, no, we've also got these special 13 character traits that when you say them, you ignite them. Say them to ignite them. Tnu oz le'elokim, you shall give strength to Hashem. Hashem tzilcha, Hashem is your shadow. So just like when you move your hand, your shadow moves, so you're in control of your shadow. So too Hashem is your shadow, which means you're in control of Hashem. It's a very powerful idea. You're in control of Hashem, so if you do the right things, then Hashem responds. And what's that called? Midah keneged midah. Measure for measure. So Hashem will treat you how you recognize Hashem. If you recognize Hashem's character traits, then Hashem can use them. But also He treats you how you treat other people. So if you forgive easily, then He'll forgive you easily. If you get angry with other people quickly, then He'll get angry with you quickly. That's it. That's last class. Now we're actually going to break them down according to the Maharal. And there are many different systems, but we're going to do his one today. 13 midas, because if you really want to awaken that midah, that measure, that character trait, then you have to understand what you're saying when you're saying it. We also, maybe I'll give you a class later, we are meant to emulate these character traits. You got to understand the whole point of life in this world is not to be with God, it's to be like God. You're going to be with God in the world to come. The point of this world is to be like God, to emulate God, to become godly, to get these midas into yourself, start living in line with these midot. Of course, you're meant to be with God in this world as well. You're meant to meditate and pray and do mitzvahs and have God consciousness. It's very important. I speak about it a lot. But helping other people, once you've stabilized yourself, once you've invested into yourself enough that you're a basically healthy, happy human being, then life is really about going beyond yourself and being there for other people. So it's not really about your own spirituality. Your highest spirituality is when you care about other people. I say this a lot about simcha, happiness. Real simcha is when you want other people to be happy as well. If it's just about you and your pleasure, that's not called simcha. Someone who's really basimcha wants other people to be happy. So we're going to break it down. Hashem. The first Hashem is Hashem before we sin. You are merciful before we sin. So we did ask the question last week, why does he have to be merciful before we sin? We didn't sin yet. So there are a few answers to the question. One answer is just the whole of creation and the whole of keeping your heart beating and keeping your breath going and your digestive system basically works pretty well and your eyes are pretty good. That's basically very merciful. Really, one would imagine that at any point, if the strict midah of din, if the strict character trait of justice were running the show, then things might be a little bit different. Maybe every time you spoke lashon hara, your lashon, your tongue would fall out. So maybe, I don't know. I think that could be fair. You're not using your tongue properly. I give my kids a toy. If I give my son a tennis racket and he hits my daughter, I'm going to take that tennis racket away. You lost it. So Hashem gave you a tongue. If you're going to use it to speak lashon hara, Hashem should just take it away. Maybe that's after. The other one is, I heard a beautiful story, is Hashem, even before you mess up, basically knows you're going to mess up and he's kind of okay with it. He's like, I don't expect you to be perfect. So I heard a story, some rabbi, I've forgotten who it was, but he told a story that when he was 9 years old, he went to a sleepaway camp. And his mum gave him $10 and said, this $10 is for snacks and you got to make it last the whole time. And don't spend it all in one go. You have to make it last. And so the boy got to the camp, and after a day or two, and there were chocolates and candies that you could buy, and he obviously spent all of his $10 very, very quickly, and he was so upset, and all the other boys were still getting chocolates and sweets and everything, and he was so upset, and he called his mum, and he said, Mum, I messed up, I spent my $10 already, I'm sorry, I messed up, what am I going to do? She said to him, look in your bag, in the inner pocket of your bag. There's an envelope in there. And he went and looked and there was another $5 because she knew he was going to mess up. And that's what a mummy does. She's like, I know you're going to mess up, so I'm going to sort you out. A beautiful story. So Hashem kind of knows we're going to mess up. So that's Hashem before. Hashem after. After the chait is you mess up. Basically, it's a very powerful thing that Hashem, which is beyond time and space, he basically wipes it clean. It's done. And this is what Yom Kippur is really all about, eventually, is what does kapara mean? What does atonement, someone says atonement means at one-ment, we become one again. It means it basically wipes it all out. It's not there. Imagine you ever put someone down, you said something really nasty and horrible, and eventually they forgive you. It's still there though. They'll remember that for the rest of your life. Remember, you did say that to me. I got a terrible example of someone who said something terrible, and it's there. So Hashem says, no, with me I've forgotten it. Didn't happen, mamish, didn't happen at all. That's a very, very high level of rachamim. Imagine you can forgive someone so much that there's no residue of pain or hurt. High level, no? By the way, you have to live these things. These aren't just ideas, Hashem's great and Hashem can do this, but I can't do this. No, you've got to become godly. You've got to be able to forgive people completely. Number 3, I need a time. And what's the time? 45. I've got 1 minute, less than, just about 1 minute for each of them. Kale, the third one, is kind of a generic chesed. It's just like Hashem's basically main midah is this love. Where do we learn that from? We learn that from the creation of the universe. creation of the universe, seeing as infinite consciousness is not lacking or needing, was not an act of selfish taking. It was an act of giving, and giving is love. So God's natural, just to emanate a universe is an act of giving. You're giving forth, you are bringing into existence as an act of love. So Hashem's basic, if we say, David HaMelech says in Tehillim, Olem Chesed Yebane. Hashem created the world as an act of Chesed. That's why we have to do that. Avraham Avinu, who is the core DNA of our whole nation, his midah, and he was the embodiment of Chesed. Had his tent open on all four sides, giving, all the time giving. So Hashem, it's just saying Hashem's got this general, being a giver rather than a taker. Rav Dessler speaks about this a lot. In general in life, we're split into two groups, givers and takers. And you in your life as well, sometimes you're more of a giver, sometimes you're more of a taker. But in general, you want to get into the mindset that I'm here to give. Obviously, you've got to give to yourself first. Don't not look after yourself. But we're here to become a giver, and that way you tap into the divine flow. Chesed is really a type of flow. So once you become a taker, you're blocking the divine flow. So what we want to do is become this giving agent. Number 4, Rachum. The word Rachum, what does it mean when we say Hashem, Hashem, Kol Rachum? Rachum is, He gives us the strength to take the Midat Hadin. Basically, He makes us superhuman so that we can stand up to our trials. Now, how does this work? This year, unfortunately, has been the most awful year. Did you see the Teshuvah movie? They're actually screening it now tomorrow on the 7th of October. Those people, they lost children. I don't think it's humanly possible to deal with losing a child. Or Iris Chaim, whose son was a hostage and then he kind of escaped and then a soldier shot him by mistake. You saw those people in the movie. They had some kind of superhuman, I forgive the soldiers, this is what they had to do. His parents have stood up, and Jen Early, she's now this inspirational speaker, and now she's still in a lot of pain, but you've become a hero. Those people, before that happened to them, they were normal people like us. They weren't, and you would think, looking forward, I could never handle that. But no, when it comes into that situation, you're now given this superhuman ability to deal with the Midas Adin. So Hashem gives us the strength to deal with our challenges. Number 5. Chanun. Hashem K'arachim v'chanun is related to the word chinam, which means free, that we get undeserved gifts. We don't deserve, we often think, I deserve this. But who says? Who says you deserve things? Who says? You got your eyes. Did you deserve I deserve my eyes. Why? Why do you deserve your eyes? So many people often walk around feeling in this state of entitlement. I'm entitled to all of this. And it's a very humbling expression of consciousness to say, well, no, it's actually all a free gift. Everything I get is a free gift. Life itself is a free gift. Everything I have in my life is a free gift. Chanun is Hashem doesn't, there is Midat Adin, which is Midat Adin is Midah Keneged Midah. You get what you deserve. But Hashem says, I can override that and just give you stuff that you don't deserve. Why? Because I love you. So I do this with my children. Not often though. I give them what they need. I buy them what they need. So I go shopping and my kids say, Abba, I want that. I'm like, okay, I'll write that down. I know you want it. But I'm not going to get you everything you want. I'm only going to get you what you need. Anything you need, I will get you. Because if you need it, you need it. And they try to say that everything they want, they need it. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm the other way around. Everything they need, I say, no, you don't. You want it. But once in a while, I'll give them a little. I'll say, you know what? And they'll say, Abba, what's that for? And I say, just because I love you. But if you spoil a kid, you've got to be very careful, because you're like, yeah, I love you, just because I love you. And you're giving them, then you create a manipulative, horrible child. So that's not actually a good, it's not a good expression of love. So you have to know when to go beyond. Number 6, Erech Apayim. Erech Apayim really means long nose. That's where Jewish people get the whole thing from. But Erech Apayim means slow to anger. Like chill. Because really, as soon as you speak Lashon Hara, bam, your tongue should fall out at that point. But Hashem's like, you know what? I'm going to chill, and I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to give you a chance to do Teshuvah. It's very important, by the way. This is very good. I'm giving a whole parenting class now. But once your kid annoys you, you've got to not lash out. You just want to lash out. It's like, you have to, that takes a lot of self-control. Erech Apayim. I'm not going to get, it either means controlling it. Sounds like Erech Apayim means that it takes a lot to get Hashem angry. It says in Pirkei Avot, there are different types of people. Someone who gets angry very quickly, and he can't let go of it for a long time. That's a terrible person. Someone gets angry very quickly, but lets go very quickly. Someone who doesn't really get angry, takes it very hard, but once they're angry, they stay angry for a long time. And someone who hardly ever gets angry, but once they get angry, they let go quickly. I think I'm the last one. When I get angry, which happens very rarely, I explode. I go, explode, I'll break something. But then I'll be like, oh, okay. That's why I stay away from my children. Yeah. And notice, by the way, that Pirkei Avot says, doesn't seem to say there's anyone who never gets angry. There isn't a fifth category and the one who never gets angry. There's only 4 categories. Very important. So Hashem's this one. Hashem's very slow to anger. When he gets angry, it maybe flares up, but then he chills out. Number 4, Rav Chesed. Rav Chesed, a lot of kindness, means that Dan Lachaf Zchut. Do you know what Dan Lachaf Zchut means? Judge people favorably. So also in Pirkei Avot, he judges us favorably. So if we're in the balance, and it could be either way, our judgment could go either way, he pushes it over. He's like, boop. He's not out to get you. It's very, very, very important. Hashem is not trying to get you. He's not like, okay, what can I... Opposite. Hashem's out to save you. There's an idea in halakha called koach lahatir adif, which means the power to make it okay is much stronger. It's easy just to say that's asur, that's forbidden. No, you can't do that, it's forbidden. It's very easy to say that. But it takes a much bigger Talmud Chacham to be able to find a way to say, you know what, it's okay. To make it easier for people. So Hashem's that. Hashem's judging us favorably, not out to get us. When it is either way, he pushes us over to that side. Emet. Hashem Gerachim V'Chanan Erech Apayim Rav Chesed Ve'emet. Emet means eternal. There's something called Olam HaEmet. This is called Olam Alma Deshikra. We live in Alma Deshikra, which means the fake world. This world is full of falsehood. Who loved no phones for 3 days? Who did not check their phone last night apart from to call their parents maybe? No way. I'm like Bekoshi, I checked my phone. Well, I called my mum last night. I'm like, this is it. No phone. It's so good. I was like, imagine you could have a 4th day. Going into pray more, spend time with friends and family, eat, pray, no phone, nothing. Complete presence in the world. It was awesome for me. Anyway, so this is Alma Deshikra, the world of falsehood, because we see pirud, we see separation between things, and we have a Yetzer Hara, and we have bad things. There's something called Olam HaEmet, which is the real world, which is the world to come, really. So Emet means that it's eternal. Hashem's kindness is eternal. Your reward is eternal. This is also an idea between sins. I don't like the word sin, but I'm going to use it because it's easy. A sin and a mitzvah. The reward for a mitzvah is 1 billion times more than the punishment for a sin. So every sin you do is going to cost you $10. Every mitzvah you do, you're going to get $1 million. So the way they speak about it is, if you're going to the world to come and you have 10 mitzvahs and 1 sin, would you swap it out? Would you say, okay, I'll have 9 mitzvahs and no sins? Then no way. Because now you just lost $1 billion and for $10. So that's the kindness of Hashem, that forever and all eternity, your reward is there. And that means that there's an eternal relationship. Naitzeh chesed la'alafim, he gives chesed la'alafim to thousands, generations. That means for your kids and your kids' kids and your kids' kids. All of your generations are going to benefit from your good. The good that you do isn't just going to count for you, it's going to count for your children and everyone that comes after you. We learn this also, it's called Zchut Avot. We have the merit of our fathers. So if someone's father looked after me, someone's father looked after me when I was a kid, and then I grow up, his son comes up and says, can I come for a Shabbos meal? And I'm like, no, I can't have people this week. And he said, well, I'm this guy's son. I'd be like, you're Chaim's son? Well, Chaim said, of course you can come for Shabbos every week. So Hashem's like that. Goes on forever. Noise avon, he can deal, he can hold your avon. Avon is message, when you do something knowingly. You're like, I know I'm not meant to do this, but you know what, I'm not there yet. Once again, you've got to be real with your growth. So you've got to grow in steps and be kind to yourself. My favorite story, I think it was Rav Aryeh Levine. Someone was smoking on Shabbos. And he saw this kid smoking on Shabbos, and he knew that he was trying to become more religious. And the kid said, I just can't not, I'll give up one day. So Rav Aryeh Levine says, okay, so fine, you can smoke, but don't put it out. Because putting it out is also breaking Shabbos. So once you finished it, just put it down and let it just burn out. And then you didn't break Shabbos, and that's being honoring Shabbos. So he knows, but I'm doing it, but I'm not there yet, so Hashem can forgive that. Now he said, Avam v'pesha. Do you know what a pesha means? Pesha is a rebellion. You mamish saying, I'm doing this, I know I don't care. Mage it is, kind of, I'm doing it, I know it's wrong, but, my Yetzirah is too strong. Pesha is a complete rebellion. Imagine you got someone who says that there is no God. He won't mention any names. One of my favorite people. So he's using his mouth and saying and proving, and got stuff on YouTube and stuff. There is no God. Alex O'Connor, I'll use his name, who I love Alex as well. So Alex O'Connor, very clever, but he's there like bashing God. There is no God. Who's giving him the power of speech at that very second? Giving him the power of speech and keeping his heart beating and his body moving, and he's using all of the kindness that God is giving him to say that there's no God and get people to believe there's no God. It's crazy. Rav Lev Kellerman told a story about someone he wasn't involved, and there was this man, quite a rich man, and in his building there was a poor man, and the rich man was paying the poor man's rent and paying, like, basically supporting him and his family. The rich man came out with a book, some halachic book or machshava book, Jewish philosophy, and the poor man said it was a terrible book, and started going on a campaign to don't read this rich man's book, and put up signs everywhere. Like, don't read the book, it's a terrible book. And the rich man's keeping alive. And the rich man went to Rabbi Kellerman and spoke about it, and he said, I'm still going to pay his rent though. He's rebelling against me, but I'll still pay his rent because he still needs it. Very high level. Number 12, chata. Noisei avam fesha v'chata. That's your shogeg, things you do by mistake. And in a way, this is even bigger. Let's say you get a parking fine. You think, I need Hashem to pardon me for the bad things I did. But that one, Hashem's like, you know what? You at least pay your parking fine. But Hashem says, you know what? Even that is okay. And the final one, v'nakeh. Nakeh is the ikah. It's the biggest one of all of them, which means clean. And the Maharal says that this is the idea that we understand, which is he actually turns your averot into mitzvahs. We learn this in the Gemara. Your averot can become mitzvahs. All of this, by the way, is only if you do teshuvah. Because the next words that we don't say, the next words in the Torah is v'lo yenakeh, and he doesn't clean. So he doesn't clean. If you don't do teshuvah, although there are some of these that seem to suggest that even if you're not doing teshuvah, you get it. But yenakeh means if you do real teshuvah, because you made a mistake, then the avera, the mistake, becomes a mitzvah. Why? How? How can a avera, a sin, a forbidden act, become a mitzvah? I get that you'd wipe it out. How can it become a mitzvah? Yeah? By doing teshuvah, you recognize Hashem. So what that really is saying is the Avera caused me to become a greater person, came closer to Hashem. If I hadn't done it, I wouldn't be on a high level now. So let's say I'm going along at this level, and then I do an Avera. And because of the Avera, I do teshuvah, so I come to a higher level than I was before. That means the Avera made me into a better person, so it became a mitzvah. You can't do an Avera and then say, I'm going to do Teshuvah. You can't say, oh, I'll do it, I'll do Teshuvah, and then it's a mitzvah. Don't do it, because that doesn't work, by the way, because then it's the opposite. Then Teshuvah made you do the Avera. Avera made you do Teshuvah, which made you greater, it becomes a mitzvah. As soon as you say, I'll do an Avera, because I can do Teshuvah, then it's Teshuvah caused the Avera, so Teshuvah then doesn't work. Although ultimately it might, but it would take a long, many lifetimes to do that. So fine. So these are the basic things. So when you're saying those words many times over the next 7 days, try to have these. You can either write out, and maybe I'll type it out for you and I'll send it to you on the group. Try to have this in mind. Once again, it's a lot to have in mind. So I've always said this. Just be passionate. Say, Hashem, I intend all of these things. Hashem, and then Hashem's like, okay. As long as you learn it first, if you're not managing to have the kavanah in the moment, it's okay. Because Hashem says, as long as you're in the moment saying, Hashem, I mean it. I did learn it and I mean it now. And then you're just pure and simple and authentic. Hashem's like, great, let's do it. Hashem, you should have a great year.